On the fringe of the Orion trade lane stood Station Via 9, a shuddering world of metal plates, flickering neon signs, and the permanent smell of coolant. Millions lived here, humans, scaled folk, silicon breathers, and those who defied classification entirely. But Viranine was also notorious for one thing. Nobody came here unless they were desperate. That included Jox Thorne, a human starship mechanic who currently wore the grey jumpsuit of a drifter-hauler apprentice, a disguise meant to keep him invisible. He wasn't hiding from the law. He was hiding from something far worse: the Syndicate, a galaxy-spanning crime conglomerate that wanted him dead for refusing to sabotage a refugee freighter for 3 months. He stayed low, fixed shuttles, slept in ducts, ate cheap protein packs. But today, something happened that made him forget all his problems. Asterisk, the Dragon Waitress, the Blue Ember Diner, was small, greasy, and too warm for most humans. But Jox came every day because nobody asked questions, and the food didn't cause hallucinations. She served him today, again. Her name was Rither. One glance at her, and people assumed danger. A female draco, tall, horned, covered in desert sand scales, lined with glowing amber streaks. Her people once ruled star systems. Now they worked low-paid jobs on forgotten stations. But Rither, she always smiled at him. Today she carried a tray filled with steaming sin. Her ear fin twitched nervously. She kept glancing over her shoulder. "Your usual?" she asked. JX nodded. "Yeah, you're okay? You seem tense." She hesitated. Her golden eyes flickered. "I'm fine. Just busy." But then Jox saw it. A small piece of bread. Real bread. Not SYNTH. She slipped it off the tray and hid it beneath her apron. Not in her pocket. Not for herself. She hid it quickly, guiltily, like someone terrified of being caught. JAX froze. Real bread was expensive. Too expensive. Here, it was basically a luxury item worth a week's wages. Why was she hiding it? Before he could ask, she straightened, forced a smile, and rushed away. And that's when something in Jox's mind whispered, "She's in trouble." Asterisk, the secret behind the pantry door, after his shift working on freighter engines. Jox returned to the diner, pretending to search for a missing tool. In reality, he wanted to understand what he saw. He followed the path Rither had taken earlier through the back kitchen, past steaming cauldrons. Beyond the stock shelves, a faint sound reached him, soft, weak, high-pitched crying. He pressed himself against a wall and peeked through the half-open pantry door. Rither knelt on the ground. Her big frame curled protectively around a tiny Drakari girl, a child, thin, starved, scales pale from malnutrition. Rither gently placed the stolen bread in the girl's hands. "Eat slowly," Rither whispered. "Your stomach can't handle too much yet." The girl nodded weakly. Jox felt his throat tighten. Rither wasn't stealing for herself. She was feeding a kid, a child who looked half dead. He stepped back quietly, his mind racing. The Drakari were proud, fierce, and rarely begged. But Rither, she looked like someone carrying the weight of an entire world. He left before she noticed him, but he couldn't forget the image. Or the question, why was a Drakari child starving in a place like Vi? The truth comes out. The next day, Jox took an early seat near the counter. Rither approached him, her eyes tired. "You came earlier than usual," she said. "I like the quiet." He paused, then added softly, "Rhythm. I saw something yesterday." Her face went still. "Behind the pantry door," he continued. "I saw the child." She froze completely now. Her breath hitched. "You saw Yori?" "I didn't mean to spy," Jox said quickly. "But she looked sick. Really sick." Ritha's hands trembled. She set the tray down before she dropped it. "She's my sister," she whispered. "We fled our homeworld when the Syndicate raided it. Our parents didn't make it." Jox felt a cold shiver run down his spine. He knew the Syndicate too well. He escaped them. Others weren't so lucky. We reached via 9 months ago. But they don't give refugee permits to Drakari anymore. Her voice cracked. "I work here illegally. If the owner finds out about your... he'll turn her over to the cleaners." "The cleaners?" Jox asked sharply. "The station's private enforcers," Ritha said. "They remove refugees who can't pay protection fees." Jox clenched his fists. Ritha whispered, "I'm sorry you had to see that. Please, pretend you didn't." Jox stared at her, at the fear in her eyes, at the desperation, and he realized something. He couldn't walk away. A mechanic's promise, Ritha, he said quietly. "I know people. I know how to fix things, ships, doors, and sometimes situations. I don't need charity," she snapped, but her voice wavered. "It's not charity. It's humanity." She closed her eyes, her breath shaking. "Why?" she whispered. "Why help us? We're strangers. Because someone needs to. And because humans. We look out for people who need it." She stared at him for a long moment. Finally, she whispered the words that broke his heart. "I don't want my sister to die." "You have my word," Jox said. "She won't." The Syndicate arrives. 3 days later, trouble came. Not in whispers, in boots, in armored plates, in black helmets with the Syndicate's crimson emblem. They walked straight into the diner. Ritha saw them and froze, plates falling from her hands. Jox's blood turned to ice. They weren't here for food. They were here to hunt. The leader, a tall alien with a split-mandible jaw, growled. "We received reports of an unregistered Drakari miner. We're searching all kitchens." Ritha stepped back. Her tail coiled around her legs. They were going to find Yori, take her, sell her, or worse. Jax stood up slowly. "Hey," he said casually. "Kitchens restricted to employees only." The Syndicate soldiers turned toward him. "Who are you?" The leader hissed. Jax smiled. "Just a mechanic." Then he grabbed a metal pipe and swung. Humans don't go down easy. The fight was ugly, fast, and brutal. Jax dodged the first stun blast, slammed the pipe into a soldier's helmet, rolled behind a table as plasma bolts shattered plates and tables. Ritha screamed for him to run, but he only shouted, "Get your sister, run." She bolted for the back. A soldier aimed at her retreating form. Jox tackled him head-on, grabbing the blaster and firing instinctively. Two Syndicate men dropped another charged. Jox wasn't a soldier, but humans were famously stubborn, ridiculously durable, and utterly insane in close combat. He used everything, trays, boiling soup, even the noodle pot, anything to stall them. But eventually, he was slammed to the ground, a boot on his chest, a rifle pressing into his throat. The leader growled, "You shouldn't have resisted." "Human," a roar shook the diner. "Not human. Dr. AKARI.RYTH. A burst back into the room. eyes blazing, scales flaring like molten gold. She slammed into the soldier, ripping the rifle away and crushing it in her claws. "Touch my family," she snarled, "and I will end you." The syndicate soldiers hesitated. Just enough time, JAX grabbed a fallen blaster and fired a warning shot that blasted the ceiling lights. The soldiers fled in, humiliated and furious. A new future. The diner was a crater of broken tables and shattered dishes. But Ryther didn't care. She knelt beside Jox, checking his bruises. "You fool," she whispered. "You risked your life for us." He winced. "I said I'd help." She stared at him, eyes burning not with anger, but with something deeper. "You're human," she breathed. "Only humans do things like this." He smiled weakly. "We're known for it. But now the syndicate will hunt you," she said. "They already were," he replied. "Might as well make their day worse." Ryther let out a shaky laugh and hugged him tightly, careful of her claws. "Jox, thank you. What happens now?" he asked. She glanced toward the pantry where Yuri hid. "You saved us, but we can't stay here." Jox exhaled. "I have a ship. Small, old, patched together with scraps. But it runs. I can take you both somewhere safe." Ryther's eyes widened. "You'd really do that?" "Humans," he said softly, "look after their own. And right now, you're part of that." She placed her clawed hand over his. "Then we go together." *HFY that night, under the shadowed docks of Vianine. Jox repaired his battered transport. Ryther carried Yuri aboard, gently, protectively, as they left the station behind. Breaking into the silent piece of space, Jox looked at the stars and breathed freely for the first time in months. Behind him, Ryther whispered, "You saved us, Jox." He shook his head. "No," he said. "We saved each other." And the engines roared. Humanity, once again, rising where nobody expected it. HFY*.